We all know that Raphael has an amazing amount of clothes, but what exactly does his wardrobe look like? Follow me as we find out.
Hi there, come on in. Come on in, Jack.
Oh, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
So this is the fabled wardrobe.
Yeah, not just a little closet, but you know, it's what works.
Incredible. So we've already done a video exploring how you designed all of this.
Yeah.
Now this is how you filled it.
Exactly.
Excellent. So we're starting with odd jackets.
Yes, I mean, you know, I just said here, you know, these are all things where I have jackets, tweed jackets, and I like to sort things by like weight. Mm-hmm. So when I look at something, you know, I'm like, oh, what's the temperature outside? Uh-huh. And then I choose clothes. I want to go to a section and know this is all gonna work for me, right?
Because these are all tweeds.
The tweeds are like, this is like, you know, a camel hair here, tweed, down here, two like heavier stuff. Here are two lighter ones. They're odd here. I have to put them over here because they didn't, they're not supposed to be here. But you know, sometimes when you're lazy, you'll just put stuff at the end of the evening, and this one we can just hang here for now and leave it here. This series is being made possible with the support of Arterton London. Arterton London is a website and store in the Princess Arcade in London, and while they supply hangers to Savile Row, they also have nice shoes of smaller brands. They have other leather goods, shoe shine products, and everything that is not clothing, but clothing related. They're a great company to work with. They were super helpful when we were in London and helped us with filming there, and I can't speak highly enough of them as a company. And of course, the hangers they provided for my closet are just phenomenal.
Excellent. So are you starting to wear more separates in your everyday life, or do you prefer suits? How does it go? You know, I used to have quite a few suits, and then I noticed lately, you know, I've been working out with this like Peloton thing at home. I realized that, you know, having a daughter, going to the gym, just that extra step is what is not make me go, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I'll work out at home. You know, I can get like 3 workouts in a week. And I noticed like my arms and everything is getting tighter, chest too. I also gained a little bit in the waist, even though with most pants I can still wear it. But I've realized that most of my suits just don't fit the way I want them to fit anymore. So I have to do more alterations. And then we got all the, you know, corduroys and pants. I have a lot of pants that all fit me really well. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of wearing more separates, fewer suits, but more out of necessity. So I just had to, you know, make a few new suits and change the jackets, and then I can be all right again. And even with the jackets, and some jackets I can just tell this is not going to work anymore. I still have them here because I like to look at them, or I bring them up to the studio because I don't have everything here, but it's also nice. I mean, it looks good in the studio, but it also is this sound dampening. So, I see.
You know, it's just really good, yeah.
So speaking of things being custom to your size, I noticed that I'm going to struggle to get these jackets, but this works for you? Yeah, I mean, you know, when I designed this, I was like, most people put kind of storage space on top, right? And you can see that I have some storage space here, and I was like, I don't want all that storage space on top. But if you look at, you know, IKEA or everyone, that's what they all do. They put it on top and then have the bars. And I'm like, I'm 6'1", you know, I've very long arms. I can just reach this, you know, and just get out this jacket, and it works for me. And I much rather have space down here where I can look and see. I can have drawers. I can have drawers up there. Without craning over, that is. Exactly. And so this was definitely a, you know, custom thing, right? So pulling this jacket out, I remember this when we were in Florence. Yeah. This is the 70s jacket, is it? Yeah, it is. And it's, you know, it's kind of a cool, what I like about it, it has that kind of the shooting pleats. So we filmed a lot in Florence, so having that extra range of movement is just really nice. And yeah, I mean, this is also the point where I'm like, I could probably, you know, let that out a little bit and see what I can get.
But if you have to, you go through all your jackets and say, well, let's take it out and do alterations. I'm also like, maybe I'll wait a year or two until my body is kind of in a new shape it's gonna be. So I'm not like, making all these alterations just to having to do them again.
Understood. So I know that in your foodie interests, you're very open-minded, and does that translate to the way that you dress as well? You're kind of happy to try this, or do you have a particular favorite jacket at the moment?
I'm not sure if I have a favorite jacket because it changes with the season, right? It's like, for example, this jacket, I like around the Christmas time. I don't really wear it outside of Christmas, right? This has the shooting pleats, it's nice. Sometimes when you get something new in, you're like, oh, well, I'll wear that a little more. This is it's nice. I would say overall my style has gotten a bit more, muted for myself, but I would wear these like bolder things, and then you get a little less bold, but I still like try to wear different patterns, different things. Like this one, for example, here, quite bold. It's a tweed jacket in this like orange, green, yellow stripe, kind of a boating blazer, but as a tweed jacket.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Where did you pick this one up?
This was actually from a vintage market in Brimfield. It's like the largest open air market, and it was from Bobby from Boston.
Okay.
He was already dead, but I think his brother is still running the business, and so I got that there. Yeah. I mean, most of these jackets, were not made for me. I just buy them. Like this is a recent acquisition. It's that half belt. Again, the shooting. Pleats back there, and the fabric is really cool. And if you look at it here, it has this kind of faux button.
Oh, so it doesn't actually button up. The buttons are just there for decoration.
I thought it was kind of funny, like it was like, okay. And this is 70s, but this is a nice fabric.
Yeah.
It's union made. Most people think of 70s as like polyester and stuff. And so you just see what's happening. Like this one here, for example, again, has the shooting pleats. I left my pocket square in here. Usually I try not to do that because then, I can't find it when I want it for something else. But this is like an old like Dige from like 1986. And, it's just a little younger than I am. And they call this the Fitwell. So because they say, you need more range of movement here, they also extend that to the lining. And touch the lining, it's quite like thick.
That's really substantial. That's the proper old twill lining. And I see that the pocket's also got a zipper.
Yes.
So if you were to perhaps be on horseback or something like that, things don't fall out, right?
Maybe that was the idea, right? You have the center bend. It's more horseback. I think it's a shooting jacket, right? So that's probably what is.
You don't want your
for.
Cartridges spilling everywhere.
Exactly.
Good.
And then here, you said separates. Like if it is a suit, I keep the pants together just because it makes sense, so to speak, right? To have it all together. So technically I could put it over with the suits, but sometimes I wear it without it. And yeah, you see, like I like the pleats in the side just because it gives me more range of movement. Even if maybe the sleeve is a little tighter, you still get a little bit more range of movement. This is one of those where it's too short and too small. But then, you just have to, send it off, sell it, do something. Oh yeah, here, oh yeah, look at this. I recently had, I noticed I had moth damage. I had moths in my wardrobe, which is of course horrible. So I, got a freezer, and all of this has been in there. But you go through the entire house, every kind of wool rug, any type of taxidermy, feathers, anything, and they like dust and stuff. So yeah, this, I should probably take this out and just, discard it or donate it because it's not something that I'll be wearing anymore.
I was going to say, it sounds like that's part of the decision that you make there. It's a little too short, plus it's got that damage on the sleeve, so you've just freed up another hanger for something else in the studio.
Exactly, and it's invisible binding. This is a cool pattern here. I think even during my best days, I would only wear this with a waistcoat. I couldn't quite button it nicely.
Okay.
So yeah, it's always, work in progress, so to speak.
So what gaps are you missing from your jacket collection? What would you like to add that isn't here yet?
Oh, I guess, there's always something, right? And I'm open to just seeing fabrics. For example, you know what I noticed? Sometimes jackets, especially in England, are a little longer if they're more like country jackets. So I did a section. You see here, I have 2 drawers, right? Versus over there, I don't have drawers. So I did it intentionally to give me space for some casual jackets that are a little longer, peacoat, stuff like that, so I could hang them without them touching. Because this was designed, you know, if it hangs properly, it just so clears the bottom, right? That's part of the custom thing, was like, I know what jacket length I have. I want to not waste any space, and I want to maximize what I can have in drawers. So I measured precisely to see like how much do I need. And so I needed the right bar, I needed the right hanger to know it's all gonna work.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look and see how it works in action.
Yeah, good. So over there, these were more traditional jackets. And then I have the jackets that are a little more like longer, right? But still traditional, like over here. This is a nice kind of tweed, you know, with a matching waistcoat, but no trousers.
Do you like that look where you do the matching waistcoat jacket but a separate trouser?
Yeah, I think everything looks nice. I think you can do the, you know, same pants and waistcoat with different jacket. You can have different waistcoat, different pants, different jacket. I think it all works. It's all fun. It's just depending on what, you know, what you're up for.
I think for me, I've always preferred the same waistcoat, trouser and a different jacket because it looks just like a smoking jacket. And this is something that I think is a particularly, perhaps English influence that I've had.
Yeah. So, no, like for jackets, I mean, overall, I've always strived, you know, I always thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a complete wardrobe? So what does it mean, complete wardrobe, right? It's like you have traditional jackets. You have, you know, different kinds of tuxedos. You have like a morning coat, a tailcoat. You have, you know, unusual jackets. So this is kind of this, I think it's Italian. Yeah, from Florence, Principe, right? It's a nice velvet quilted shawl collar, cuffs, kind of, you know, the rope detailing on the button. They're not frock closures, right? They still have the buttons. But yeah, stuff like that I think is just nice to have, you know, that you wear it at home. People don't really see it. This is more of a corduroy with black. It has kind of a belt. Oh, another pocket square I found. Great. Yeah, it's just, you know, whatever you got there, and you see that hung here for a little bit. So typically I have like a brush handy, so I can just, if it's a little dusty, I can go over and make sure it'll get undusted.
And how would you suggest the sort of clothes maintenance for a wardrobe this large? Do you do just little and often, or?
If you have to actually, you know, change things seasonally, it's actually good because, you know, you'll notice if you have moths, right? You'll go through, you can also cull your collection and take things out. See, like, am I still wearing this? Does it still fit? You know, does it have maybe damage that I want to kind of fix? So this is like a vintage jacket, as you can see here. It's kind of satin material, has a bit of wear, but I'm not gonna change anything on that. I'll just leave it as is because I don't wear it, you know, a whole lot. And you'd have to kind of reface it completely, so I'll probably wait a little longer to do that.
Understood.
But I would say, yeah, recently, no, I also got more, look, this is more of a kind of a work denim shirt.
Okay.
Right? And then this is a casual, more like, you know, leather jacket.
I remember this from the video where we try to understand if it's worth it.
Exactly. And, you know, I got it and I was like, wow, you know, the sleeves are long enough, everything works. Because with leather, unlike with fabric, you can't just make quick alterations. Most alterations, Taylor, are going to be a little bit, I don't know. And I mean, you can maybe shorten something. You can definitely not let anything out because you see all the stitches. And so it's nice to have these different things in a wardrobe, right? So here's like a Harrington jacket, you know, and this one I got recently, I really like. It's like a Italian, you know, Ralph Lauren. It's quite soft. It has this kind of bomber jacket style. But it's wool, right? This is what wool and cashmere.
Hence the softness.
Exactly. It has a nice soft hand. I like quilted jackets. I have quite a few. Here's one that's an English one, I think from Levenham. It has this kind of cool houndstooth fabric. You it's warm during transition season. It's just really nice.
Because this is something that you like to travel with typically, is at least one quilted jacket if it's a colder environment.
Yes, because they're super lightweight, so it doesn't add more weight, but they're insulating, and you can get them slightly larger so they can cover a jacket. So when
like
you wear
a suit or a
suit jacket, odd jacket, blazer, so then you know, well, if I have these 2 layers, I can be quite warm. I can wear the quilted jacket without it. It gives you flexibility without adding a lot of weight and bulk.
And I suppose as well with a quilted jacket, you're not as worried if you do need to remove your outer layer and carry it. You're not worried about snagging a long coat on public transport or getting it dirty.
Exactly, and it's just a little more, bringing your overcoat. I like heavier overcoats, they're heavier, and it's fine, but it all has to work together, right? With a quilted jacket, I know I can wear it in many different ways. And so that's just super helpful. I also have other jackets, they're like rain jackets. This one here, for example, it has like a zippered in lining option.
Oh,
so
nice.
it can be a little warmer. It had these brownish alligator details. I bought it off eBay. I think it was like Paolo Martorano. It's like a tailor in New York. Oh, see, I found some gloves in here I should take out too. So yeah, you have these, this is more of, I think, a little Piana Storm System fabric. This is kind of a cool, brushed cotton, double-sided bomber jacket, like a, vintage Polo Ralph Lauren. I like their stuff. You see how big the sleeves are, for example?
Yeah.
So I would guess this is like, 90s, maybe late 80s. But it's super soft, it's super comfortable.
You could fit one of me into just the one sleeve.
So you could probably wear it as your pant leg.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, here are shirts that are like double cuffed or that are a bit longer. So again, you see I intentionally did not add drawers here, just so I had this extra space and I could move things around as I, saw them fit. And then with these shirt hangers here, these are from Arterton. Nakata, it's a Japanese brand. You can see back there, and this is the shirt hanger. And what I like about it, it has that kind of curved shape. Now, I have a lot of hanging space, and I calculated it precisely, but these are quite wide. So while it's nice for your shirt, and I think these would also be great for like knitwear if you want to hang it. Keep in mind, do you want slimmer hangers so you can hang more shirts? And what is it that you need, right? Because sometimes you get these really nice hangers, but then you realize, oh, this is actually not going to work for my wardrobe space because I don't have enough.
Well, it's not just the thickness of the wood as well, it's the fact that these hangers have a curvature to them.
At the same time, if all hangers have the same curvature, it doesn't matter anymore. You just lose the curvature space once, and then everything else thereafter is just the width of the hanger. It's only if you have mix and match hangers, if you have one that is curved and one that is straight, well, now you lose a lot of space every time.
Yes.
As you kind of intersperse them.
So that was a chief deciding factor for you when designing and putting together this wardrobe then, was making sure that all the hangers matched?
Yes, exactly. We worked with Will from Arterton, so this was like a custom paint option that they offered, in green. And at first it was like, well, can you make those? Because how cool is that? The color with the green, it's unusual. Yeah. They put in like a monogram. Like I just, designed that and then gave it to them, and they just laser etched it in there. It would have worked with the wallpaper. Now they were like, well, it takes more work to do them this way, and I would have to wait maybe like another year. So I was like, okay, I'll go with a traditional brown because it's still very nice, and the brown had like a reddish tone. So if you take let's take one here. The brown had kind of a reddish tone, which was very similar to the wood tone that we had. So I was like, oh, that works, Otherwise, you could do custom stains. And these are very nice, they're curved, and they have a shoulder pad that is more than wide enough. You can get ones that are wider, but then again, you sacrifice hanging space. So it's always a compromise between how much hanging space do I have, what's best for my jacket. You can get some that are bumped out here, so they have more of a neck hole. But I'm like, I don't think that adds value to me. So I decided on those, and the hangers are really nice. They're gold. So just wanted to make sure that I have the gold hardware so it would match the.
So that there's a harmonious kind of language, and it makes both the dressing experience as well as the looking, the aesthetics work.
Exactly. And here, these are double cuffed shirts, white and stuff. And
so something that I'm interested by, because it looks like we do the same thing. You leave your double cuff shirts with the cuffs flat. You don't iron the crease into them.
No, I don't iron the crease. Some people do that. And, some shirts have like 2 buttonholes, so you can get slightly adjusted. Because oftentimes, jacket lengths can be different. Some jackets have a tighter armhole, so if your shirt has a big armhole, naturally the sleeve is pulled up a little bit. So I think having that ability to adjust based on your jacket is nice.
Absolutely.
Even though, ideally, it all ends here, and it's like that. So yeah, I don't intentionally fold anything or iron anything.
Understood. So what sort of shirts have we got? Are these just white business shirts, or are they a mixture?
No, I think it's a mixture. I think these are this is like a black tie shirt with a hidden fly. There's others. And, you can order them, right? For example, this is also a tuxedo shirt, right? Which is highly unusual. It's for studs.
Oh, wow.
So, I've worn this with, for a more creative black tie, maybe with a white inner jacket and stuff like that. So whenever I see unusual things, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, right? If you have your basics covered, you can just work with different things. Is this the first tuxedo shirt I'd buy? Absolutely not. But if you have a few, different options and stuff. This is a vintage one. It has this really cool fabric that you can see here.
Incredible.
Then, some have the pleat front. This is the Marcella bib. This is the white pleat, Then there's finer pleats. There's always, different options. This has a, kind of a jacquard woven pleat. Very nice.
Excellent. So as we're talking about evening wear, should we make that our next stop?
Sure. Yeah, so more formal evening jackets. You see there's a lot of space. So there's a lot of room to grow.
I was going to say, this is a relatively smaller section of the wardrobe. I was expecting, it's you, evening wear. I was expecting a whole side for evening wear.
Yeah, it's, you don't wear it that often. And again, not everything is here, right? It's just what kind of fits or whatever. So this is a more recent acquisition. I really like it. It's a 100% cashmere. I think it's Ralph Lauren purple label. Made in England, so it's from Chesterberry, and it's their 46 regular fits me well. It has this kind of shawl collar.
Found another pocket square.
Yeah, exactly. No vents in the back, very kind of classic, and yeah, it's quite warm, so it's like a winter weight jacket.
So you'd wear that instead of an overcoat?
Not quite, but sometimes you when it's cold outside, or maybe the venue is cold. It's this is nice to know. Then this is what is it? This is a double-breasted kind of midnight blue 1940s. Incredible. With grosgrain, and I have the matching pants there too. This one is a velvet, kind of burgundy velvet with cuffs. And when I had it made, I wanted the lapels to be wider.
Oh, so this one's custom?
Yeah, this was custom made. This is another Ralph Lauren purple label, made in England. Nice kind of off-white inner jacket. I like how you have this cream color and then the kind of contrasting white,
which you'd
satin silk.
You'd often think would be the other way around. The lapels would be darker.
Yeah, but I like it. It's cool. It's just different. This was from Gagliardi. I just like that they're different fabrics. It's not overall the best fit, but it's sometimes hey, I want something slightly different on a cruise, for example. Same here. It's kind of this bluish, almost matte wool, grosgrain finish. And then here, this is not even a tuxedo. This is a stroller jacket. You wear with striped pants. It has the kind of single-breasted peak lapel, kind of old school look with the buttons kind of off.
Excellent. Do you know a date for this one?
No, not exactly.
But they were popular in the sort of 30s, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's that old, but yeah, it's nice.
So you say that you'd wear those with like a grey stripe pant or something like that. And anything down here that you'd put with that stroller suit?
Yeah, I mean, you could do something like, a pattern like this even. This is obviously a lighter weight.
Yeah.
But you can, you can use patterns like a houndstooth, for example, no problem. And then, with the jackets up here, you can wear kind of this kind of stuff if you want, like black watch tartan, or you can wear, regular tuxedo pants, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you can be creative, so to speak. But if you have a regular tuxedo, like a black pair of tuxedo pants or so, you can combine a lot of jackets with it and have that. Yeah, pants-wise, I have to kind of, there are these nice hangers, right? So they're these Nakata hangers. Uh-huh. And again, I put my monogram on here. This is beautifully felted bar. It's quite wide, gold. Really nice. But they all, also they're a little on the wider side, which is great because you don't get a crease on your pants as you store them. And if you watch the other videos, you'll see my evolution on how I went through there. And even, when they first sent me those, and it must have been an issue in the order. So you see the brown color is slightly different.
Yeah.
And then these, I'm just changing out all of those. But it's, when you work with a company like that, it's great to know that if they make a mistake, they own up to it. And so in this case, it worked out for me because I have like twice as many hangers now as before. So I can have them all in the studio, Teresa can use them. We can put them in guest rooms. So the guests will have really, really nice hangers and they're like, whoa, what happened here,
Exactly, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I think it's nice to be kind of creative. I could even see like the dinner jacket, right? If you wear something like this together, highly unusual, but cool, like, be creative. Don't just, the rules are nice, and I know the rules, but it's like, why? I'm past that point where I have to just stick with something, and I like dressing up as a expression of how you feel, and so it's fun, and that's what I think it should be. It should be fun. Exactly. And sometimes you maybe put together an outfit that's you're not the most proudest of, but hey, it's like if you don't try new things, you're not going to make mistakes. If you just want to play it safe, cool, but it's just not me.
Exactly. Speaking of the fun combinations that you can do for evening wear, putting the blue seersucker with the ivory dinner jacket reminds me of one of our guests at the Belvedere Bash. He wore a fantastic, the cream trouser and the navy, almost like a blazer, and it was evening wear.
It was inspired by Imperial Arts illustration, so he saw it and was like, make me this, right? So yeah, and you can do stuff, right? It's like if you have these kind of tartan, pants. I mean, it doesn't have the galon stripe on the side, but it doesn't have cuffs. Why? I've worn this together, Uh-huh. It's like it's a cool evening ensemble. It's a little different, and really, I mean, today, no one is going to say, oh, your pants don't have a galon on the side, Like, no matter, if you're interested in clothing, no matter what you wear, you're probably, outdressing or overdressing other people. So it's like, okay, be okay with it, have fun, right? Yeah.
Speaking of outdressing and overdressing, I'm very aware that behind me is an array of suits. Shall we dive in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, these are like, it's a Caracini Fres. I mean, this one, maybe let's start with this one. It's one of the first ones. I think my wife really likes it. This was a Ralph Lauren purple label, made in England, but this is size 42 regular. These are 46. So, right, talking about progression over the years. So the Alteration Sailor, thought we could rescue that. We'll see. We'll see about that one. This one was a cool, was a custom piece. The fabric is really nice. Mm-hmm. It's one of those high micron. They are much more susceptible to any type of damage when you kind of also wrinkles. When you travel with it, it's much harder to actually. So this is a kind of a cool suit. I think it must be like a 70s, you know. I usually wear it more as a blazer and stuff, but just cool to see that someone made this as a suit.
Very much so.
And then, yeah, it's like, you know, gray flannel. I think that's an old Chesterberry, like just from the brand.
Very classic.
Very classic. This is like a charcoal brown, Caraceni, you know, old three-piece suit.
So this has a double-breasted waistcoat as well.
Double-breasted waistcoat.
Very nice.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell with the peak lapels, you know, nice peak lapels. No vents in the background.
I mean, as you can tell, I'm very fond of a three-piece suit, so I've got my eyes on that one. Perhaps get that one altered.
Yeah, so there's this one here, you know, it's more of a 30s silhouette, kind of. I think this one people, you know, I've seen before. It's a houndstooth, has kind of the back belt with the middle pleat in a way. Is also three-piece.
This one is packed with features. I remember back when we did the How a Suit Should Fit piece, this was the gold standard that we held up as fitting well. And
at the time, I know it fit better than it does now, right? It has to alter it. Also, it has a heavier fabric, so heavier fabric will always drape better. And then here's some, like, you know, they're like just both same silhouette. They're like fresco suits. They're also probably a little tighter now these days.
Sure.
And then, you know, I've got like I put these drawers here because I was like, I want to be able to see everything that's relevant for me. Right at eye level. So we've got a ton of braces here, or suspenders. Yes. How do you come about finding these? You know, most of these, honestly, I think I was once at a estate sale, and there was like a tri-lawyer, you know, he had a lot. And, you know, on eBay sometimes, you go to a flea market, you just go around and look at it. I think here there's more the casual side of things, you know, it's like tweed. There is, you know, suede leather, woven leather, you know, dogs, ducks, just kind of more of the, so, you know, there's old Ralph Lauren, or there's like Trafalgar, there's just different ones, right? And then here too, on this side, you know, I wanted to have access to like socks. And so I added those dividers. So, you know, because before I had an open drawer, and I always disliked it, how stuff would move around. So it was like, for socks, I want these dividers. And you could also use them for like pocket squares. So you can have, you know, have them sorted in a way. And it's this idea of this Marie Kondo fold, where you can just fold a bunch of them in there, and then you can quickly go in and see what it is that you need. So this helps with the outfit creation process when you've picked out the main component, a jacket or a trouser or a suit. Exactly. And then just adding those finishing touches. Adding what makes sense, right? And you know, I sorted them like, this is like wool silk, right? This is silk, this is linen. So I kind of know what do I want, you know. If it's like a summer outfit, I'm not going to put a wool pocket square in there normally. Maybe if I like the look for some reason. But yeah, just being able to, you know, do stuff. And then, you know, here there's also more, you know, more socks. Okay. Different socks. I think there's more socks over here. And you see here, the dividers are not there. I just tried it to see, you know, what it would look like. I can still make it work. I have another divider up here where currently I just put stuff in there that I haven't sorted yet, but I could use this for other stuff. Then up here is just like, you know, trial socks, or sometimes returns, or yeah, figuring things out. But you see the soft close, I wanted that soft close because it just sounds nice and you don't have to worry about yeah, anything else. And then down here, you know, it's like shirts. Just like, you know, regular shirts, striped shirts, all without button cuffs, so to speak. So they need a little less space. So this is the cuffs? All without double cuffs. Got it. Exactly. So these are all like barrel cuff shirts that I can, you know, use and wear. And they're, you know, I can quickly see, is this a linen fabric blend, or is it, you know, is it something else? I, you know, tried different shirts. This is like, you know, Turnbull and Asser, you know. There's, what is this here? Finamore, you know, it's like a linen shirt. This is like, you know, an old Finamore as well. You know, I have Eton shirts and, you know, custom shirts. Just a mix of stuff that kind of works, you know. I'm not so, yeah. Over the years, definitely, you know, shirts you wear out a lot more quickly.
Mm-hmm. And
so you replace them.
And knowing you as well as I do, this very much feels like your wardrobe in that there aren't many plain shirts here. They're all something interesting. There's a bold pattern or a colour.
I have a bunch of, you know, like plain shirts. It's not like I don't have them, right? Like I have white, I have blues. I have, you know, over there later we'll see, I like pastel tones and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, you know, when you come across something like, you know, super bold like this, that's different, right? Or like, whereas this is like an older Eton, you know, like a thicker kind of shirt, thicker fabric. I also like, this is nice. I know, this one here is, oh, see, there's the old plastic hangers. I have to exchange them for that, right? Yeah, so these are just things, you know, you have to kind of go through. And it's also like we, even better than a closet is, we've, you know, we realized we're just working a lot, and then, you know, with having a daughter doing stuff on the weekends, we decided to hire someone who just, you know, does laundry for us. And that's really great, because then I don't have to bring it to the dry cleaner, pay, you know, a per shirt charge. Yeah. And they don't do it the way I would want to do it. So here you have someone who can, you know, come and do all that stuff. So that's just nice. And then, you know, they usually iron it, and I don't have to kind of spend time on that, because I'm not ironing is okay. I don't love it. You know, some people are like, oh, it's therapeutic. Not for me.
Yep, and that's absolutely fine. Like you said, everyone's got their own likes and interests, and yeah, if clothes maintenance is your moment to chill out and become zen, and if it's a way of connecting with your purchases, then that's great.
Yeah. But if not, you know, here I got another suit is like a seersucker suit. So that's I think you know, Ralph Lauren, Polo Ralph Lauren. I think the fit isn't particularly good, but you know, for seersucker suits, I'm like, I wear it so rarely. I'm not gonna go custom with it. It's not worth it to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'll go with something off the rack. Here's some like cashmere jackets. You know, they're like softer and warmer.
I know that jacket.
This one was the one part of this like 3-piece suit. Oh, it's heavy. Hold it.
Oh, I remember when we received the package for this in London, we were like, what is in here?
Yeah, so +4 is the regular ones. It's this kind of tweed suit, has those kind of pleats, and yeah, I wore this at Goodwood. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'd wear this like, you know, shooting. There was actually like, you know, going pheasant shooting. Here in the US, people say hunting. Mm-hmm. In the UK, you'd say shooting. Yeah. And yeah, that would be something. This is another suit I always liked. It's kind of this cool flannel, you know, I think it's a VBC flannel with that old window pane, made up as a suit, you know, kind of cool.
So in juxtaposition to some of the heavier cloths we've got here, it looks like we've got some lighter weight things over here.
Exactly, like as I said, you know, when I wear stuff, I try to make sure I go to the right section. So these are all like lighter weight fabrics. This was like a prototype we made for like Fort Belvedere as a fabric, and it's the hand. I mean, touch it. It's really nice. You know, it has this kind of it's navy, but it is wool and silk. So the different materials takes a dye differently. So it has kind of this two-tone effect. We know makes it easier to wear. It's not your plain, regular navy. But then, you know, when testing it, I realized you get a lot more pulled threads. So I'm like, okay, we're not going to sell anything that, you know, may not stand the test of time in that sense. So we decided not to pursue that, right? So yeah, so we really kind of care about the stuff we have in here. Just, there are more fun things in here, right? So this is a green one. You've seen it before, right?
Yeah, this is if I remember rightly.
London.
And that's the one that you scored on eBay?
Yes, exactly. It was for the challenge. We did a challenge video, right?
Yes.
Like how to, I don't know, put an outfit together for $100 or like something, $200. Yeah, that was a. This is another like Isaia, kind of different jackets. They're lighter weight. I just like to have that. This was the one, I wore in London quite a bit. This is another double-breasted, fresco. It's actually a suit, but I think the pants don't fit me anymore. That's why I put it here probably. This is like a kind of single-breasted one. This is another kind of bolder one. You can see it even, I think I bought it on eBay, but it still needs it's good original, it needs the buttons, basically. It doesn't have the buttons.
Oh, okay, so it's an unfinished sleeve length.
Exactly.
That,
which oftentimes they come like that, right, when you buy them new. And then, sometimes the buttons come with it. Here, they didn't come with it, so I'm going to replace all the buttons.
Okay.
Just put, I don't know, put some mother of pearl on there or something. Just for fun, exactly. This is kind of a, recent acquisition, kind of seersucker, this kind of multicolored. It's probably like 70s in a way, but every once in a while, if you want a summer fun, that's kind of cool.
I can definitely see that jacket being worn at a barbecue with white shorts, that sort of vintage kind of vibe.
Same with this, right? It has kind of a vintage vibe. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, it's not vintage really, but the fabric color scheme and stuff, it more
looks it.
70s, but it's not, this was an Isaia in a good fabric combination. This is a kind of Madras, cotton, vintage kind of old school look that's more like 60s, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think this one here, it's a more like summery, double-breasted kind of lighter blue thing. Yeah, and then at the bottom, they're all just like pants, basically. Different, corduroys, and because we made a lot of prototypes too, tested lots of fabrics before we settled on.
It's quite a thick wale there.
Exactly, right. This is quite a thick wale, but it's it's much lighter in weight, and it doesn't it just wears differently over time. This is the one we ultimately settled for.
Yes.
And so you just try different things. Like Teresa says, this one is more like it's like she calls it like a grandma couch.
Yeah. I was going to say this looks closer to upholstery corduroy.
Exactly. But you can make things out of it. You can test it, see if you like it, see if people like it. And I like more unusual things, or just try to do different things, not always the same.
Yeah. I was going to say the goldenrod yellow that you've just put back there, you get a lot of use out of that color.
Oh yeah, I like the bold colors too, and if we go around later, you'll see we have a bunch more colors. Even when we tested, I have like a white and an off-white, and you don't wear them a lot, but it's kind of cool to wear them when you feel like it. I'm just like pulling the sleeves here, so
they all sit nicely.
Exactly.
Excellent. What area of the closet should we discover next?
What are you interested in?
Good question. I know that you've collected quite a few odd waistcoats.
Yeah, let's look at those.
Let's take it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so here, again, drawers with potential things. I did like just 2 dividers here, and like just so I could have different things. But yeah, like I hung a bunch of waistcoats here. Again, they're not everything, but these are some like, cordings, different ones.
That's an extremely bold waistcoat.
Yeah, like vintage ones. When I see something that is unusual, like the same with this one here, right?
Yeah.
Very kind of bold, single-breasted. This one here I thought was really cool if you look at it. It's like this, it's silk, but it's backed with cotton. We actually have kind of, we can replicate this fabric. So if we ever were to make, for a bow tie, I think it's a bit too stiff.
Yeah.
But if we were to make like this, we could recreate it. Just really cool, old stuff that you don't see again today. This is like a white double-breasted one with a little buttonhole.
I think that's one of your wife's favourite waistcoats, or at least it featured in one of her favourite outfits.
This one we bought at Goodwood. I think this one too. It's kind of this like tattersall. It's a nice kind of classic country look, with a tweed. This is one that is lapel-less, but has these kind of contrasting piped pockets.
Looks like it's done in a suede.
What is in a suede?
The piping.
No, it's
is
not.
it?
It's actually a fabric. Yeah. Some tweed stuff. This is an interesting color. I think these were old cordings with the gold buttons. This is a velvet double-breasted too that was made for me like in a bottle green.
Oh, and it's backed on
full backed, self fabric. Kind of a more, Oscar Wilde-ish take on things. A little bit more unusual. Then here is the Tattersall, back kind of. Yeah, this is also cordings. Just different waistcoats. I like the contrasting waistcoats sometimes. Just adds a different look to your outfit. And then down here, just some more pants. These are the kind of cashmere striped trousers, or it's kind of almost like a fishtail variation.
I was going to say it's like a fishtail, but it uses less fabric.
Yes, exactly. So you get functionally the same, but it's slightly different. And like different like fun Christmas pants, or like just when I see something that is a bit unusual, I'm open to getting it. I always have a hard time with pants and finding something that fits my legs. So, since we've done our own now, it's much easier to get stuff that fits me well.
Of course.
And I like that high rise. These pair of trousers, like they were made for me, but at a time when I didn't ask for it specifically I asked for high rise, but then they give you something. Now I'm like, no, high rise means above my belly button.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And then here's just some other shirts, more like pastel-y shirts, depending on where they fit in, because I noticed with the thick Nakata shirt hangers, they are just not, you just need more space in your wardrobe. And I do have it, so that's fine, but you can't just have them all over there, for example.
So that's definitely something that I've noticed so far is, like you say, you've kind of split a few of the garment types up around your wardrobe. Do you find that helps you create more interesting ensembles because you've kind of got a few elements in one place?
I don't know, maybe, but it's also not, I'm not settled 100% where I'm like, this is the forever place. I'm open to things, and as I said, as you go through your stuff and you weed out stuff, then you have more space and maybe you add different things. In my mind, a wardrobe, it's never a fixed thing. It's constantly evolving, just like your style, right? You're never done. You have something new, something goes out, something new comes in. Maybe, you're like, ooh, in this phase of my life, I like, ochre tones, or I like, back in the day, I would not have worn like more monochromatic outfits. Yeah. Lately, I found brown and white, like just from the shoes and everything. So it just depends a bit on the mood.
Oh, look at those.
Yeah, these are, what I like about those, these are like tuxedo pants. And they were from a tuxedo. The jacket is way too small. It's upstairs. It was like a bespoke piece from Germany. But touch the fabric. It's nice and fluid. And then the other thing, what I learned with those pants was lined pants. So these pants are fully lined. And you can see here they have this like really long thread.
And they've kind of braided that thread, right?
To hold things in place. Oh, here it broke on this side. But just, they're fully lined and they're so comfortable. And for for evening wear, it just glides on your leg. So I'm like, ooh, this is really nice. And so I'm like, if I get bespoke trousers now, I'm like, I want a full lining. Unless it's like, a pair of summer pants where you want that airflow. But that was the pair of pants where I started to appreciate full linings.
And I think that's a really great tip if you're someone that likes the over-the-cuff sock, but you also want a slimmer look, because that full lining can really help the glide over a sock and not a stick.
Yeah. Then there's also like, summer pants. I find like for men, oftentimes summer pants are kind of underrated, like with silk in
I was going to say that.
This is really nice. Like Ralph Lauren, they had old ones that like, silk linen, silk cottons. So I'm I'm also trying to create some higher-end summer pants for our own line. So I think this was a pair here. So you're just, we're trying the fabric, wear it, wash it, see does it kind of bunch out in the legs when you walk a lot? Because I don't want to sell something, that isn't really like something that I would wear myself. I want to make sure that it's top quality and something that I kind of approve of.
Very much so. So as we were saying earlier, the way that you've designed your wardrobe in such a way means that you've got that ability to move around. So for instance, if you wanted to put the vests on this level and the trousers and shirts at this level, you could.
I could, and I was thinking initially, should I make a shelf, really shorter, specifically just for waistcoats? And I'm like, no, I want the flexibility to move around, and I would only, get one more drawer out of it. So I said, no, let's just give me that flexibility, basically.
But there's one area of a man's clothing collection that you can't be as flexible with, and that would be something long like an overcoat.
Yeah. So I knew I had a large overcoat collection, and I knew I would not hang them all in here because overcoats are very seasonal, right?
Yes.
So I have probably 20 overcoats, heavier ones, tweed ones, all sorts of stuff. And typically I put them on before I leave the house. So we have a mud room. So I would, hang a selection there, and then there's some up in the studio. I just put some here, just to have them, to kind of show people. And I have the long hang, but long hang is the most kind of space-consuming way to hang things. So I wanted to limit it to just one area because I knew I wouldn't have that much here. Maybe, if I wanted something to try on, I would have it here. So yeah, this is a cool piece that I got. It was from a guy in Germany. He was a model, actually, in the 60s. And I visited his widow once because I kind of, he was a model and she told me about the stuff. And, I thought it was a really cool overcoat, right, with that kind of flap. And then these cuffs, they used to be much bigger, but I shortened them a little bit so I got more sleeve length. I'm open to just, getting things. This is like more like a polo coat, right, with real camel hair. You can see it. The camel hair wears quite quickly, typically, on the edge, but it's just, it's quite warm, right? So here's a Burberry trench coat from the same guy. He put these like military things on there. His name was Heinz Fischbach, I think. And he was also, in the military, probably even like in World War II. So, but later on, he became like a model. And he was also an illustrator. I found him through the illustrations and then realized that he was also wearing stuff. Yeah, just, navy overcoat. I also have stuff like this, I have fur-lined overcoats. This is like a Nutria. Probably, it doesn't fit so well anymore, and you can't just make those bigger. Fortunately, there's not that many people interested in men's fur overcoats, so you can pick them up again. I think new, it's harder and harder to find because the fur stores just don't survive.
No, it's especially with the ethical concerns as well. I appreciate how it's harder to find a new fur coat nowadays.
Yeah. And I mean, here in Minnesota, for example, I think the beaver population is so strong now that they're actually actively trying to kind of regulate it. So, yes, if it's like controlled and sustained, whatever. But ultimately, if you buy something old, the animal is dead. It's already been made. Nothing is greener than something secondhand, so to speak.
Indeed.
But it depends. Like, do you get secondhand underwear? No.
Well, I mean, it may be a thing, but who are we to judge?
This is a really nice fabric. I like this. Like, it has the gray, but even the gray is like mottled. Yeah. So it's like this, fiber dye, black, blue. So you can wear this overcoat with any type of business suit, and it will always look like it's well matched and fitting. This one here is really cool. It's like I bought this from eBay. Hermanns und Voralik Düsseldorf. So it's an evening overcoat.
Very specific.
Very specific, right? You see it's like lined with silk satin to the edge.
Oh, wow. Oh, so I always thought that this overcoat was just faced like a tuxedo jacket, but this is literally lined all the way through to the other side.
All the way to the other side.
Wow.
Completely full with so, it's... There was this book from Hermann Martin Baron von Elking, and he had this German Herrenjournal and all that stuff. And he said, you measure the elegance of society by the number of like evening overcoats it has. That's just no longer the case. People very rarely make an evening overcoat.
Yes.
So I'm like, that's a cool piece. I like that, and this actually fits because it's roomy. It's meant to go over something. So whenever it's winter and there's black tie, I wear it. Because, or even white tie, whatever, because why not, right? If I have an evening overcoat, I also want to wear it, and you can wear it with a nice lapel buttonhole, and then you can transfer it to your tuxedo. Otherwise, it gets squished. So it's just a smart way to think about it. I also put a pocket square in it because it has the option.
Or would you do it where you have the large carnation on your evening overcoat and the mini carnation on your tuxedo?
It gets squished, like when you put the coat on top of it. So I wouldn't do that because I don't like it to be squished. But I could see, you getting there. And here, notice these are just like more different colors, reds. And then I mentioned, the corduroys in like white and off-white.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not many people have that kind of, the difference, so to speak. And that's okay. That's that part here. There's some garment bags in here.
They also look like they're from Arterton, are they?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they're like they're rather stiff. I think they're meant to be worn. You can just put them together like this and hold it like this, and have the whole garment bag carrying it like a piece of luggage, so to speak.
I was going to say, it looks like it becomes almost like a duffel bag of sorts.
Yes, I think I would rather, put them in something. Yeah. But these are very sturdy garment bags that is waxed cotton that I typically put them in my suitcase. They're heavier than like your traditional garment bags. So you have to see if that works with your weight allowance, basically, or you use it as a carry-on. But yeah, definitely good quality garment bags. And then here, this was the piece where there's a mirror here right now, right? But originally, these were in different parts of the house. So we had actually taken them out from a different door and put it in here. We had to kind of set back the threshold a little bit. Okay. Because these are thicker doors because they have the mirror and they're heavier. But I thought, how cool is it to have a closet where, the mirror is there, which is what you want when you get dressed, but it looks like it has always been there.
Yes.
When in fact it wasn't.
Well, I'll be honest in saying, if you hadn't have told me, I wouldn't have known, because like you say, it fits as if it was meant to be there.
Yeah. And this whole room was actually a bedroom, right? And so I converted it. So originally, these were the closets of the bedroom. But when we actually, tested things out, I realized, this whole thing, it's actually not super deep, Do you see here? Like,
yeah, so
I couldn't even fit a jacket on this all the way in. So I was like, well, they were slimmer, they had a narrower shoulder width, but if I can't even hang anything in there, we went to like Alpha and put in these shoe shelves, even before we did this closet, just so we could use this space.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just wasted.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if I can't hang anything in a closet, what's the point of the closet? And we have two of them, so we put both doors in there. And the other thing I was really impressed by, just the workmanship of this house, because the house was built in 1901, is that those hinges lined up perfectly.
So even though you took it from a different part of the house,
exactly,
the hinges
we didn't have to exchange the hinges or change the height of the hinge. It worked. They just added, on the other door, I think they had to kind of sand it a little bit and stuff, but at least the hinge height was the same. I thought it was pretty cool.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So let's check out what's around the corner.
Sure. All right. So it was like this side here, right? We had, this is north, this is east. So I knew east wasn't too strong, but I didn't want open hang in the side where I would get a lot of light because I didn't want to bleach out stuff. So I was like, let's make this side the closed side. And then there's a bump out in the room here, right? Just naturally from the house. Yeah. So we try to kind of mirror this and say, let's make these drawers deeper, just so I get a deeper drawer space, basically, right?
You can store more that way.
Exactly, and here is underwear drawer. So I had it beforehand. I looked at the Marie Kondo fold, and made sure that the height would be right. So I had flatter drawers here, and then here, this was like a little ironing board.
Oh, okay, so fold out
And
ironing.
there's like an outlet right behind you, so I didn't need one in there, So I can just, if I need to iron something quickly, I can do that. So from the outside you don't really see that it looks different, right? And then here, again Marie Kondo fold. I try to kind of keep it all the same, And I measured beforehand how much space do I need for my shorts, so I could all see them. And they're not stored on top of each other.
Because you do a lot of cycling with your daughter in the summertime, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes sense as to why you'd want to have space for quite possibly the largest short collection I've ever seen. But yeah, it makes sense to have those because, in Minnesota, how often do you get to wear shorts?
A lot, the summers here are hot.
Okay.
So when you bike, it's a big season. And it gets hot here, humid, hot. So in the summer, definitely hotter than like Germany or England.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have 40 degrees, which is 104. So there are regular days above 100. So it's Fahrenheit, 40 degrees, and that's warm. I'm not going to wear long pants, especially when I'm outside biking. No. And then here, it's nice sometimes to have areas where you can put things that are not necessarily nice looking, right? And here I got, just the hats. So, because hats, as they get like dusty, and you can just, use them and kind of brush them out. But it's just nice to have an area to keep all your hats.
For sure, because that's something, I don't wear hats very often, but I do have a couple, and I admit that they're one of the more challenging things to store in a way that's aesthetically pleasing.
You can actually, you could hang them on a wall like so, right? And that looks pretty cool. But then, every time you wear them, you have to kind of get out the brush, undust them, and kind of wear them. For a while, I had like I get like acne in my forehead.
Oh, okay.
Because of the sweatband.
Yeah.
Kind of would trap my sweat and it just wouldn't work. Now Teresa found something that I put on and it I can wear hats. So I'm like, I have to actively now wear hats more because I like the look. Before I only didn't wear it because of the acne, but now I can wear them all. And these are all mostly like, Austrian, German hats. There's some Borsalinos. But ultimately, vintage hats are just quality-wise so much better. You like that brim edge curl. You're not getting that. I was at like Optimo in Chicago. They don't have that. And this is like really, really old.
Proper bowler
hat, exactly.
Excellent. Is it because of some of the older and now defunct hat making techniques, including the use of mercury, for instance? Did that create a better hat?
Ultimately, I think if you just have everyone on the street wear hats, right? You need a lot of hats, which means a lot of people manufacture hats, which creates a broader range of things. It's like with tailors, right? I think in Germany I saw once, they had 500,000 tailors. Well, if you have 500,000 tailors, the best one is probably a lot better than if you just have 2,000 tailors.
Yes.
And it's the same with hats. It's like demand and supply kind of thing. And so sometimes the workmanship, the quality of the felt, the things that they did, you don't get this anymore. Like, look at this one, right? It's just kind of this...
Oh, wow.
This two-tone hair. You have these different colors. It's much more casual, but it's like a Homburg hat style with that kind of lord's hat pinch fold. Looks cool. But you don't get that anymore. And I don't think that's because of the mercury. It's more because that quality of felt it's just not around anymore. And then, you know, we got these like the flat caps, right, from Newsboy cap. Kind of, we got those at Goodwood, I think, at Dents.
Yep.
And then the other cool thing is, you know, these, like these here, these are called like a velour hats.
Very nice
Seal
indeed.
velour. They were, if you touch it, like it's, you know.
So it's got a very definite nap to it.
I read a piece. I have this friend. His name is Steve Hack, which he gave me that hat. He collects like, you know, Austrian, German, Hungarian, Czech hats. He's probably like 600-700 of them, and he kind of, you know, travels and extensively researches. He put up a little forum where he documents everything, and he had this like really long, you know, thing that he found about how they made this, and that they, you know, it had to be hare, it couldn't be rabbit, it can't be beaver because of all this stuff. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. You know, I was at Optim where they're like, yeah, I have one example, I want to recreate it, but it's hard. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, it's also the color tone, you know, it's this kind of gray. It's almost like a real seal, you know?
Yeah, it's got that sort of, that changeant sort of effect going on where you've got several tones in one hat.
And here too, right, this is like a more brownish gray. And you see some moths actually ate it here. I think I got that. That didn't happen under my ownership, but...
Has it still been in the freezer just to make sure?
Oh yeah, everything, everything, animal hair, everything went into the freezer. Not taking any more risks. No. It's just not worth it. But yeah, so just different, you know, different hats, different styles. Oh yeah, this one is another one here. I think this was the latest one I got. Yeah, Wien, Maria Hilferstraße 18. So I don't think that hat store is there anymore. But yeah, we got that piece of history here.
Will you be bringing it with you to Vienna?
That would be cool.
It would?
Especially if show people, hey, this is an old Viennese hat that I'm wearing here, you know. It's a good, unique quality. Yeah.
So I also know that you have a couple of top hats. Do you store those separately?
Yes, I have those upstairs. You know, I think there's enough space here. I could bring them down here. I just haven't gotten around to doing that. And, you know, top hats you don't, you know, you wear when you have a morning coat and a tailcoat, and that's it. And how often do I wear that? Not as often as I'd like to. Of course. So maybe we'll have to just create more events where people can wear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd certainly be interested in doing a morning wear event. It's the one dress code that I'm yet to fully explore. Yeah. So you'll have to let us know if that's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, maybe Royal Ascot. Something like that. Oh, see here, this is what these LED lighting strips look like. I have them all array on top, and then I'll put another one back here, because we got power in this unit from the bottom. We drilled in the holes and we can still exchange it. The transformer kind of broke, but I have a backup, and yeah, we'll do that.
So something else that I'm noticing here is that your cologne collection is stored in your closet and not in the bathroom.
Well, you know, the bathroom is somewhat small, and I have a few colognes over there as well. I could just add a lot more here. We also have a lot in the studio because that's where, you know, we use it.
Of course.
So I could bring them all down here, I think, eventually. But as you see here, that top is not finished yet. So as I said, in the company we worked with, they usually work with contractors. And because of that, you know, they didn't offer that. And getting someone in to just do this piece of, like, yeah, minimum is $3,000. I'm like, we're going to redo our bathroom here soon. I'll just do everything at once. Or I could put, like, you know, a wood piece on there that matches maybe the wood of here. But I think like a marble piece would look really nice, maybe green marble or so. It was like, you know, I can still use it. It's fine. Because their idea of a top was just this material. I'm like, it's not. It reminded me of like an 80s kitchen. I didn't want that. And then, you know, right now in the drawer, my goal is to have a ring drawer, basically like this, the entire drawer. So I want to make an insert custom for this space, and then I can go collect more rings, because I like going to places. And you wear a pinky ring, right?
I do, yeah. I'm far less adventurous than you in that I bought one to celebrate my 30th birthday, and it's the only one I wear. Yeah. It pales in comparison to your...
I mean, it's, you know, you just do it over time. And the cool thing is, too, the gold price has gone up so much that, you know, this appreciated in value and I enjoyed it. So I'm like, oh, that's a great type of investment. You just wear it, you know, you enjoy it, and it gains in value, and it's gold, you know. Because silver rings, you can have silver rings, but if you get like gold-plated rings, the problem is that eventually they just wear off. Because hands, you know, and fingers, there's just a lot more wear. And so it's just something to keep in mind.
Do you prefer a gold-plated cufflink over a gold-plated ring?
Well, gold-plated cufflinks are definitely, you know, like these are gold-plated, for example. You just don't have the wear, so if you plate those thickly, it won't come off. With your ring, on the other hand, you know, you touch things, you scrub things. And so I go for like, you know, solid platinum, solid gold, or solid sterling silver is fine. Like this is solid sterling silver, you know, it's like tarnished. You can wear it, that's fine. But gold plated, like this one here, this is like rose gold plated, it'll come off eventually.
I was going to say, it looks like it's seen better days. Not in a bad way, just in a, that's life.
Yes, that's life, exactly. So here, you know, there's like just different ring collections of what I wear. And yeah.
So do you select the ring based on the outfit, like, or?
Yeah, typically, you know, it's like, for example, today, I think the ring that I had on was this one here. You know, it was gold. It matched the gold on my cufflinks, and it had like the ruby red eyes. And it's also like a newer acquisition. So I'm like, it's a Viennese ring. So I'm like, okay, I want to look. And it's a really cool ring. Like, it's just, the workmanship is great. It was a little too big, so I had it resized, and the jeweler did an excellent job of like, you know, rematching the pattern. You can't see it. It's highly unusual. So, yeah.
Right, because we're in the middle of planning for our trip to Vienna, aren't we? So it makes sense that you want to get in that mindset. Exactly. You're wearing a ring from Vienna. Okay.
And then here, you know, these are like other just like cufflinks, you know, that I collected over the years, little ones. Again, it would be cool to have it, you know, be built in to the drawer.
Single layer so that you can see them all, they're not stacked. Exactly,
right. This is like the Eagles cufflink with a snake. Could do that. And, you know, I was actually inspired to make this by the hooks here. I got these from a Ukrainian guy in Lviv. And he was like, well, I'm sold out of this. I can only make it if we have gas again. You know, like they have to deal with war economy and stuff like that. But they're just really cool and intricate. And of course, on a cufflink, it's much smaller, so it's harder to make. But yeah, always trying to kind of, you know, have vintage cufflinks, have our own cufflinks. And I think we did a video about the cufflink collection. Here's colognes, you know, spray on a cologne where it's like, hey, what do I feel like today, right? Do I want more like classic? Do I want more like summery? What is the scent? So I like mixing it up. Some people like to have one scent. I don't like that. It's like whatever I feel like today.
I agree. I appreciate the gentleman that enjoys having his signature thing. It's like, it makes it easier to buy for that person, because it's like, well, they're run out of their favourite cologne, I'll buy them another bottle. But I agree, I like the versatility. If you've got the range of shirts and suits and jackets that you have, why not do the same with cologne?
And this is, you know, this dictionary of color combinations. Sometimes you get like inspiration for different colors. We're like, oh, I have this in my wardrobe. How about I pair this together and kind of come up with new ideas. So
how much did that cost?
I don't know, a few bucks.
Well, I mean, for that small investment, you've then got countless inspirations for your outfit.
Totally, yeah.
An underrated wardrobe accessory.
And I always have some brushes, you know, because you can brush your hat, you can brush whatever. It's always good care. Can brush here. This is one of those Nakata, you know, valet stands, which is nice to look at, you know. They're nice. They also like they embroidered it and not embroidered, laser engraved it. So it's sometimes cool when you're like hanging it and you're like, I just want to see if my pocket square looks nice on it. I also, you know, put this at a height where I knew I would have the pocket square at my eye level. Yeah. So they're a little higher than maybe what some people would do. And I added this because I knew I had a big hangers, so it would hang freely.
Well, at the same time, I can appreciate how it's easier to take a step back and see the whole outfit to your eye, rather than have it hung. I mean, like you say, these are useful, but you need to stand back quite a distance to be able to look at it all.
And you can hold a shirt, a tie, you can hold everything there. It's like, oh yeah, I like the way this looks. Now I'll put it on. Before you actually put it on and realize, I don't like it, let's try the other one. It's a little more time efficient. Yeah, and then otherwise, like this is, I've got this out, it kind of blends in here. It's this kind of love it jacket. Now I just need a kilt and I'm ready to go.
Do you not have a kilt yet?
No.
Well, one to add to the wardrobe.
Exactly. Next up, maybe let's talk about the shoes.
Excellent, sounds good to me.
Okay. So, when we designed the closet, I was like, well, we have lots of windows, lots of doors. Let's maximize every piece of space I got, right? Mm-hmm. And initially, I was most concerned about the opening here, but it was, it's plenty big to get through. And then here, I was like, well, I didn't want to block off this window too much, so I decided to kind of, get it up to this height.
Sure. And
then have a little something in the back here to hang more bow ties, right? It was like, I can use this space. This is a nice wallpaper background.
And because bow ties are a perfect height to hang at a certain level and, like you say, maximize that wall storage.
They're shorter than on a tie rack, and I didn't want to, the tie rack, the ties just need longer space. I wouldn't want to have ties up here, but the bow ties, I can easily just get them out. They're just like little pegs. I can just take them down. And I could also put the bow ties in a drawer, I think.
Oh, easily,
that would also be an option. But since I have this space, and I have the suspenders in a drawer, you could also hang suspenders maybe, if you if they're not too long, I guess. But yeah, so I was like, hey, let's make this maybe like boot shelving. So these are flexible shelves, so I can adjust the height.
Oh,
but beforehand, I kind of measured and said, well, for a boot like this, that is lower, I need different shelving than for a boot like this, which is higher. So I kind of said, hey, we can have some shorter shelving, and then the bottom shelves here too are, you can put higher ones there. These are from Yearn. This is like Chinese brand, and for some reason, they fit me really well. Like just putting them on, for example, here right now, they just have a really nice, elegant last. My heel sits really well in them. So I'm like, hey, this is a really good shoe, and they're all, hand welted at a price point that you get from Crockett & Jones.
Yes.
So look at this, really nice waist, and it's a much more high-end feel, like the heel.
It's tapered.
It's tapered and everything. I'm like, this is really good stuff. There's these, I didn't even wear those yet, but it's the same last. I'm like, really good. And it was interesting because at the same time I got the Bridlin.
Because they're both carried by Arterton, aren't they?
Exactly. So he sent them to me, and these fit very differently, much looser. The Yearn are my clear favorite. They're more expensive, but I think what you get for what you pay is really good. But I have different kinds of boots. Like these are cool. These are like chukka boots. These were made, I think it was like a company called Mass Drop. And the idea was that you get kind of enthusiasts together and then create something in a limited edition. So this is like an oiled leather sole. It's like stead leather, unlined, like in true chukka fashion.
And that Stead is in from Charles F. Stead in England.
Exactly. These are cool. I like these. They were kind of custom patinaed with these kind of commando sole from Idrese. I don't think they offer this style anymore.
I've seen you travel in these loads. They seem to be a go-to.
They're super comfortable, right? And they're kind of cool with a buckle. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the rubber sole, you can stand in a puddle in this, no problem when you travel. This is like, triggers, more like thick triple sole, English, tan.
The iconic Trickers boot.
Exactly. And here, the kind of button boots with a little button hook. These are, I think, from Italy. Yeah, just, different types of boots. And again, I have some boots in there. I also keep boots in the mudroom. You know, when I come in, I take my boots off.
Yep.
So I don't keep everything here, but it's just nice to, as I rotate things, right in the summer, I don't need boots down there in the mudroom.
No.
I can use different things. These are more like, you know, casual Crown Northampton. So you can see I'm not getting a whole lot of use out of these super casual shoes, but I like suedes and also different colors. You know, sometimes when they're these custom made to order, I'll try to get something that's maybe not so usual or common.
Yeah, not too commercial from the point of view that everyone's going to have them.
Exactly. These are kind of, you can see the dust here. Haven't taken them out in a while.
And that might be a
moral boots.
A good sort of moment of realization that perhaps you can switch up the storage for something else. If they've collected a bit of dust, maybe you're not wearing them as much.
But it's also like, you know, I'm in Minnesota here, right? So I can't wear just regular boots.
Yeah.
Like what I wear in the winter here is like lined boots, fur lined boots. Like it's not going to help me to have like leather soled boots. No. They're more of a transition thing for me. So now it's the time I can wear them again. Or in fall, yeah.
This is the time for this boot collection to shine.
And then here's just like, you know, bow ties, different bow ties. I think, once I got a lot from like a tri-lawyer. I buy them, you know, vintage, like unusual colors. Because most of them come in like shades of like, you know, blue and red. But like, look at the turquoise stripe, for example, nice. Right? This is like a knitted bow tie. There's some of our, you know, all of our black bow ties that grow grand from Fort Belvedere. There's like velvets, you know, wool challis. The kind of bourrette silk houndstooth. And it's more of a color, right? Typically I go for a color that I want. And it's nice to see, I have, you know, different things, or large medallions, smaller medallions. I try to sort them by color and sometimes also the size of the pattern. So you quickly can gonna get what you want.
Excellent. Yeah. And I see a lot of belts with no buckles up here.
Yeah. You know, it's basically, I found these things here.
Oh, cool. They come out.
They come out, you know, I mean, not that you needed to. I was like, it's fine. I can just hang some belts and buckles. And at you know, Fort Belvedere, I always liked this idea of creating a system. So I can have this belt, you know, on this buckle, just put it in, close it, and have it, you know, it's not going to come off.
There you go.
It's really strong. And then, you know, when I travel, I just take it out and take the next belt and put it on the next belt, right? And so I can just use different buckles, and every buckle works with every belt. So no matter what I want to do, I can have that. And that way I can, you know, easily get a rich combination of belts. If I like certain buckles, if I get 4 buckles, I have 4 belts at 16 combinations. Well, it's a lot, right? So
did you, it looks like actually you had the same idea with your bespoke belt when you got your bespoke shoes?
Exactly. You can do the same. I mean, I just told her, you know, we have this buckle system. I want this leather. What I'm going to do now, you can see, you know, this was made by a shoemaker, so they're not a belt maker. So, you know, the leather sometimes pushes back because it doesn't have the right hardness for it to sustain it. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to take this leather, which is, I think, J and JF Baker. It's a Baker leather. It's a Russian hedge grain imitation. And we're going to make our belts in that one too. Nice. So we'll have that. But ultimately, yes, now, you know, we will just going to add more leathers. So you have a broader range to choose from. And you can just decide on what works for you. And here's just some, you know, other types of belts I collected over the years. On this side are more like casual belts, you know, suedes and stuff. On the other side, and these are all like, you know, our buckles, so I can have them on, I can take them off. And then on the other side, I have more belts. There's more back here that I can, you know, use to hang if I want to. I could probably dedicate some, you know, drawer space. I have open drawer space over there for these. I'm not quite sure yet. That's why they're here right now. We just took, you know, photos and stuff. So it's always kind of evolving. And then you hear the black bow ties, the grow grade, for example. It's just what it is. But yeah, this side is just boots.
Just boots. So shoes are...
Shoes are over there. And, you know, these original closets, that's also shoe storage. So I have my boat shoes and stuff more over there. I like to wear those in the summer. There, I put the shoes that are kind of, I don't know. I put some there. Let's have a look.
I think so, yeah. I'd definitely be interested to see. So, this is the wall of shoes.
Yes. And, you know, again, you know, if you look at the door frame here, right, it was, I covered up this part, but I made sure that we could open the door, you know, fully.
Okay.
No problem. It was like, well, I want to use this wall because the wall space is rare here. So just using it all, basically. And yeah, they're currently, I kind of sort them by color, you know, like formal shoes at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So there's some, you know, like just older, you can see here, patent leather, you know, no cap toe. Same here. Some like, you know, opera pumps down here. These here, you know, these are kind of cool. They're kind of navy from J. Fitzpatrick, older ones, navy with like gray suede.
So they give that sort of Balmoral boot, or almost like you're wearing a spat.
Exactly.
That two-tone kind of effect.
Some like black shoes here, like more like, you know, chocolate brown. Just an older one. I had Double Monk. This was an older one, Franz Baron. This was a Gaziano Girling. The kind of lazy man style.
That's something that we've both kind of gotten interested kind of at the same time as the lazy man shoe. It's formal looking, but it's got the ease of a loafer.
Yeah, and I also like, you know, if you just compare, you know, the length of the Gaziano shoes, they're always a little bit longer. And the style is elongated. It maybe is not perfect for like walking around all day. They look a little different, so I like that. You know, I don't like the same type of shoe. I wouldn't get the same shoe in all the same lasts.
Of course.
This one I had like custom patina for me. It came in like in crust leather in Paris. You know, was kind of a souvenir. There's another like J. Fitzpatrick in the kind of, I think they call it a marble patina. I wore those. I haven't worn them a whole lot. This is kind of that. I think Ilsea leather, the kind of, you know, antique museum calf. Some like Alan Edmonds. And, you know, we did a video about shoe collection. I mean, a few things were added since then. You know, I throw some stuff out. I add some new ones. This one is another one of those like Lazymans from Gaziano and Girling. And interestingly, you know, this was an earlier pair. And you can see it has more of those bespoke features and details, right?
Yeah, the little sort of chisel towards the heel.
And then here, that is gone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's there a little bit, but you can see even they change how they do things, and that's fine. This is one that's with this kind of rubber sole, so it feels more like a sneaker, but it doesn't look like it. And
it's a super slim rubber as well. It's not in stark contrast to those hiking style boots.
Yeah. It's similar to this one. And this was another, it says Gaziano Girling. Like it's super wide, but the heel fits me well. So it's really too wide for me, but I got them for like $250 on eBay. So I'm like, you know, they're great for like house shoes or different things. And here, this is like Wayman Bespoke, right? We covered those before. You can see, like, you know, I wear the shoes. I'm not like, I bring them traveling and I wear them. I'm not, here's some like, you know, Gucci loafers. I think we bought them sometime when we went out vintage shopping here locally.
That's right.
Yeah, more like medium brown tones here. These are kind of cool.
Kilty loafers.
Kilty loafers, you know, but penny loafer kilty, kind of cool, made in England. I like these up here. You know, they're kind of Ralph Lauren purple label, Edward Greens. These are also special. They're kilty loafers. I think they're Edward Green for Barney's New York. Kilty loafer with this buckle in like rose gold copper tone, you know.
Incredible.
Not something you see a whole lot. Here's some more Spectators. Here's some more green shoes up there. You know, like more like olive green, that type of stuff. Then these here we bought together in London. It's like kind of like John Law Paris, you know, but without a tongue in an unusual
And then
style.
the gilly lacing style. Yeah,
exactly.
Super unusual.
just unusual. And this one is cool because, this was the first pair of Goodyear welted shoes I bought. They have been resold, they were Ludwig Reiter, and we're going to go there to the factory. You've seen it, they've seen some life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an unusual color, and the last is a little more, it's not a Gazette girling last, it's more like this Austro-Hungarian last. I think these here are some Alden tassel. They're
not cordovan, no?
I think they're cordovan. I think they're cordovan. They feel like cordovan. Just if you look at the leather, it creases differently.
Interesting.
Than other leathers, and it feels differently. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it here on that wall. They're more like color sorted.
So with that in mind, which of the shoes do you feel that you come to more often than others in terms of the color tone?
I think I like the chocolate browns. Mm-hmm. I also like the reddish browns. Yeah. Right. These are the Amara, bespoke shoe, the hardware. We did a whole series about them. If I travel, I go with these colors because it's like that burgundy helps me a lot, right? Browns. I rarely do blacks. You wear blacks now more with these lizard skins because they're super comfortable. I find I don't wear black a whole lot.
No, I'm actually the same, with the exception of these lizard shoes, from the point of view that, similarly to, you had a pair just now, but I think like these, with them being quite formal in that they're a simple, elegant last, but then they've got the derby closure. It's kind of hitting on best of both worlds for me, at least, in that idea.
Exactly, and you're getting different stuff. These here haven't gotten much wear. But sometimes also the shoe, right? Like, I got these Ace Marks a lot. I think I wear them a lot less now because I have others. And I also learned that I like a little more cushioning and padding. So you have a Blake Rapid one. They're not as comfortable as, maybe a Goodyear welted. And then with a Goodyear welted too, with a custom shoe, you can say, hey, add me a layer of foam in there. Or in the ones I'm wearing today, we added a layer of latex. The natural rubber.
Which has got the natural spring. I know that cork is highly lauded as being the best, but it's about what's right for you, right?
Exactly, and you can always, experiment. You could, especially with bespoke, even without, you can put layers in. You can have a sock liner in leather, and then underneath you put a little bit of foam if you need a bit more space to fill it up because the last isn't perfect. There's always adaptations you can make to make things fit better. And if you walk all day, it's like, yes, this is a great pair of shoes because we had a layer of foam underneath the sock liner. So you get the fit and the structure of a bespoke shoe, but it's a bit more padded. I also had retroactively added the rubber heel.
To prevent wear?
The leather wore out really quickly.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's put it in. And also, it's a little more cushiony, right? It absorbs the impact a little more than if you just have hard leather heels, so to speak.
Excellent. I can't help but notice in my peripherals there's a very exciting portion of the wardrobe just behind us where more of the colour of an outfit comes together.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So this is where all of the ties are.
Yes. So, I subdivided them. Basically, this tie rack, an idea I had when I visited Sean Crowley, he had these bars, and it was something that would actually, go up like this. I was like, no, I want fixed bars, and I want them subdivided, and I just wanted to have enough space in between here so I could hang the ties. It felt like a store to me in a way. Yep. And they were also higher up, so I could see them. Up here I can still put things, but I put knitted ties here, like silk knitted ties, all in different colors. And then here's more cashmere knit, wool knit, all that stuff, right? Then here are more wool ties, tweed, tattersall, thicker or thinner. You can touch the difference here. This is really thick, right?
It's super spongy. And then this one's just a nice kind of closer to a worsted, that sort of cropped
exactly,
wool.
Right. The Fort Belvedere ones, you see, I like unusual colors, like the turquoise with the orange. It's not a tie you normally see, especially in a wool tie. So yeah, And then different ones, these are also more textured, right? But more heavier, right? I'm not going to wear something like this in the summer.
So this is the section you come to once you've potentially chosen that tweed jacket at the front of this rack.
Exactly.
You know that you can come here and you'll get a tie that's going to match.
Exactly. And there's some stripes up here, right? And I try to keep color and patterns. So I'm like, hey, I want a micro pattern. Okay, I look here, right? I want kind of a paisley pattern. And here are also these more like madder silk, like winter tones, right? That's that shelf. And then,
I was going to say, this section is very much texture forward in terms of the ties, similar to how you organise your pocket square drawers. You've kind of got that textural element is how you've organised this one.
Yeah, and like weight, right? Heat. These are like the all-season ties, so I can wear them in summer and in winter. So up here, like the stripes, rep stripes, all different colors. You have this kind of olive, right? This is a bit more kind of reddish beige, brown, greens, darker colors like the blacks, the blues, the burgundies. These are kind of, there's some stripes here, more like the silver, formal. And then here, there's the reds, the kind of powdery pink, brown, all paisley. Here's some kind of, unusual prints. Like I don't have that many golfer ties or like, ties with a little dog or stuff like that. Little small paisley, small dots. I think this one we bought together when we were in Florence.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, the kind of cool tones, browns, darker browns, lighter browns. And you see that there's some are jacquard woven, some are printed. A lot of these here are printed because I'm a big fan of, printed ties, hand block printed ties.
You showed me this one that you bought recently where it looks printed.
But it's not, it's jacquard woven, so it's unusual. That's why I liked it, because I was like, oh, that's cool. And also if you look here, the brown stripes in between, they're irregular. They're not the same width. So I was like, oh, that's cool, And also the colors, I look at this, it's kind of this brown color, it's kind of beige, goldy. So I love being able to kind of, have an outfit and then just pick exactly the right color. I typically go by color, unless I'm like, oh, I have a small pattern, so I wanted a big pattern. Yes. That can also be an option, right? Here's that kind of, again, for Belvedere, we try to go for unusual ties. I don't know what happened here. Got a stain, so I'll have to use that.
But on that note, I think it's really important the way that you've got it configured at the moment is you've got the part showing that someone else is definitely going to see. It's like the flash of tie that you see at the knot at the shirt.
Exactly.
So you've got a good amount so you can decide.
And you see there's always a lot of red ties, right? And great nuance. And then sometimes I have to look underneath. Did I, accidentally double stack here? Do I actually see all the ties? And ideally you want to see everything at all times. But sometimes, if you get some new ties, for example, I thought these were like interesting patterns, kind of this black with a blue in an irregular shape. This is kind of jacquard woven again. And this kind of, unusual pattern. Also color. Yes. So whenever I see an unusual color or pattern, I'm interested. But it has to be within that realm of classic style, right? You don't see much. You don't see these like, elephant ties and stuff like that. It's just not me. I don't care for that. So I don't have that. So
you've got the more wintry ties, the all season. I'm guessing these are the summery ties? Exactly. So, like brighter colors in yellow. This is still a silk. This is also still a silk. And then, here I got two ties in the same pattern. I think this is technically more of an all season tie, but this is, I could wear it all season too, but it's Raphael, it's the jacquard woven base that is then printed on top. Fantastic. So these like, lighter turquoise tones, just unusual stuff. And here there's also more like, bolder summer ties. Look at this like paisley, it's like not something you wear every day, right? It's more like with a seersucker shoes, the Madras collection here. This is a bit of silk. You see the shine. These are like cotton. They're more like matte. Yes, that pink one in particular is quite unusual.
Which one, this one?
Yeah, I've definitely seen the Madras before, but this one in particular is quite bold.
Thai silk, yeah, Thai silk from Thailand, right?
As in THAI.
Exactly. And then here, sometimes just also the thinness, right? What's the interlining like? How thin is it? Is that gonna make me hot or not, so to speak? I think this one I bought with you.
Mm-hmm, that was from Goodwood.
This is kind of satin tie. It's Italian. I could probably, do something else. These are more like, linen.
Very nice.
Linen ties.
I kind of feel like they're a great alternative to like a grenadine tie in the summertime.
Yeah, and these kind of ties that have this kind of pastel-y tones that are more unusual. Something like, like a lighter brown with you could wear those at other points in time. These are definitely more summery from the fabric, right?
Very much so.
And then also the brightness of the color, right? This is a very classic pattern, but the green is really more summery than fall-like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nowhere near a forest green. That's kind of more of a garden green, so to speak.
I see everything. It's just within kind of reach, right? So here I have these more like unusual flowery patterns that I could use if I wanted to. Some are a little more whimsical, like this one here. It's very kind of nautical.
Oh, and it's flat at...
It's flat at the bottom, yeah. Johnny Appleseed from Beverly, Massachusetts. It's like if I want that kind of
Nantucket sort of
feel.
look,
then I'll go for something like that.
Excellent. How long have you been collecting ties then?
Oh, quite a while. I just started, buying stuff on eBay and flea markets, and whenever I saw something. And then, when you go to a store, oftentimes I don't like all these satin ties. I like textures. I like, fabrics and different colors. And so whenever I come across something, sometimes people are like, hey, my uncle died. Here's his tie collection. I just talked to a lady the other day, and she was selling she was dissolving an estate of a silk scarf collector, and she worked for Ralph Lauren. She had, thousands of Ralph Lauren scarves. It was like, oh, let's talk. She's like, oh, I had ties. I just gave them to Goodwill. It was like, oh, it came too late. But that happens sometimes, that people have these massive amounts of stuff, and they were collectors or hoarders, and it was like, oh, fantastic. Like once I remember with the bow ties, I just went to an estate sale, and they were about to end, and I gave the guy like $100 for his 100 bow ties, and he was happy because otherwise he would have taken them and just thrown them out. So just sometimes being at the right spot at the right time, looking on eBay, there's a lot of stuff. But I also like, if I see a new tie that is unusual, I'll buy it too. Mm-hmm. And I get inspired, sometimes this, for example, this affordability of fabric was inspired by an actual old tie. So the color tone and stuff was like, this is highly unusual. Haven't seen that. I bought it and then made that fabric and recreated it, right? Because it's like, why not? If it's something that people otherwise, don't see a lot, let's remake it. This is also kind of, these blends. You can see it's linen.
Oh, another Ralph.
Yeah. Ralph Lauren for Brittany Limited. At some point in time, they must have done some work for other brands. So it's cool to see also the history of how stuff evolved. And this is Paul Stewart. A very kind of bold linen. Yeah,
that hot pink with the blue polka dot. Very nice indeed.
Exactly.
Now,
and other ties are like, this is, I think, an Hermes tie, right? You wouldn't look at this and think this is an Hermes tie. It doesn't scream Hermes. It's not a typical Hermes tie. It's just a little different.
Well, I like that about that tie in particular, the fact that it's not obviously Hermes.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember this one.
This one, we bought it together, right? It's with Ralph Lauren purple label. It's kind of like twill in brown. Very simple, but, if you want a simple color tie, why not?
I remember I bought a pair of suspenders and you bought that, and I'm kind of regretting the way that shook out. Yeah. So I'm also intrigued. You've got ties on this side of the wardrobe, but behind us is a far more casual with knitwear.
Yes. So, initially when we planned a closet, this was also hanging space because it was like, this stuff I could probably store elsewhere. And then as we designed it, I was like, well, I want to have enough space here on this side, and I wanted to have a walkway that was wide enough that it didn't feel cramped.
No, I was going to say it's a very decent sort of width that we've got here.
And I talked with the designers, and they were like, "Yeah, you want that much?" So I went a little bit. I jutted it out on the floor with tape and stuff, and put like suitcases down to get an idea of what it feels like. But I'm very happy. Like, 'cause there's plenty of space. I'm like, I could have probably made, added another row of tie storage, potentially, right? But hey, I'm happy. I just knew that with this kind of space, I need less. I had folded, my thickest sweaters to make sure I can comfortably put them on the shelf, because I didn't want them to just hang over, so to speak. And I intentionally, added shelf space for more stuff where it's not completely full. I have room to grow in. These I could put elsewhere. They're just there for now. They're just like some, duffel bags, basically.
So it sounds like, even though I know that you've definitely got enough clothing to fill the wardrobe, the intention was never to stuff the wardrobe.
Yeah, and just, being able to like take something out. And then I was like, okay, here, I wanted like, polo shirts, short sleeve polo shirts. I wear that with my shorts, in the summer, boat shoes. That's kind of what I wear, especially when I'm active and I'm biking. Then here, these are, kind of, I like these, you call them cricket sweaters, tennis sweaters, in different colors, yellow, green, blue, and all have that kind of deep V-neck, which I like because then you can show the tie. Here are the, off-white, white cream ones.
Very classic.
In wool, because I'm like, here, these are all cotton. So when I want to do something cotton, I know I can get this. And, like, again, someone else is washing those, so they don't always get it exactly right the way I want. But I'm like, these are my cotton cardigans. These are some cashmere sweaters. These are long sleeve, polo or rugby shirts. These are cardigans in wool. Heavier, like this one is super heavy, thick. This is cashmere, just heavier stuff. So I only wear them when it's cold. Otherwise, I'll sweat, right? And here are more like basically sleeveless cardigans.
Oh, okay. So like a knitted waistcoat sort of thing.
Exactly, knitted waistcoat, and also in wool. And there's different weights. And then here is the cotton versions, or like a rami. It's like another fiber. It's more cooler for the summer. Yeah, and here's other kind of cotton, sweaters. This is much, thinner, but still not super thin.
Yep. It's got substance to the knit, but it's not heavy.
Exactly. And then just, different sweaters, so to speak. And, sometimes when I don't like them, I'll sell them again. Or I find something else and it's like, ooh, this is nice. I remember seeing this one was a beautiful color. It was like Ralph Lauren cashmere cardigan with mother of pearl buttons. Nice.
Very nice. And I can see two duffel bags that I feel relatively connected to. This one we found at Goodwood.
Yeah, exactly. I like the frame. I thought that was interesting and how it was designed. You can see it's not, now it fits into it. It has this nice suede and it was in really good shape.
And
we're trying to create our own duffel bag for brothers, so it's nice to see other materials, see how it works, how was it designed, and why do we design some things differently, and what is our purpose. And so it helps to actually use other stuff to then come up with your own design.
For sure. And this one at the top here, I recall you like to travel with a duffel bag.
Oh, this is just, like sometimes if I need more space, I just put it in, it's relatively lightweight. So I have something extra to, if I buy something, but I typically buy stuff when I'm places because I'm like, oh, this is cool. For example, I think this thing here, we also bought together in Florence at like a flea market. I want to get a few more and then just putting them on the wall. They're old door knocks, but I think they look cool.
Or you can hang one of the coat hangers from it, and you can...
Yeah, it's just a cool thing. I could put them here, but then they would kind of interfere with the hanging. I think I'll put it on a regular door in the house. But again, I find stuff, I buy food, canned fish, or like So I'm like, I'll always like extra storage, so I can buy something when I need it.
Well, Raphael, it's been an absolute pleasure to be invited into your wardrobe, see how the state of things are, see how things are developing.
It's a project, right? I'm sure if you come in 2 years from now, it'll look quite different. But it's fun to see what other people do. And, I'm like, if other people are open to share their wardrobes, even if it's smaller, I'd like to do it through your wardrobe, and because it's different and different people have different spaces, and it doesn't have to be like the most expensive, right? Sometimes a really well thought through small wardrobe is super interesting to people. So if any of you are open to share your closet with us, reach out to us, contact at gentleman'sgazette.com, and if we're in your city, we'll try to make it happen.
Excellent. Well, I think we've had quite enough of clothing. Let's go have a cocktail.
Sounds good.